So here we start Act 2, Scene 1. We're with Banquo and his son Fleance. We haven't seen him before. It's at night. It's that same night that the king has arrived at Macbeth's castle. Fleance is a fun name, and that's it. So here we go.
How goes the night, boy?
The moon is down. I've not heard the clock.
And she goes down at 12.
I take it 'tis later, sir.
Hold. Take my sword.
Okay. How goes the night, boy? How's the night? The night goes how? That's the syntax. The moon is down. There's no moon outside. It's 12. It's dark. It's late, and that's about it. Then here we go, Banquo.
There's husbandry in heaven. Their candles are all out. Take thee that, too.
So husbandry means thrift. So there's thrift in heaven. Heaven is being thrifty. It's not showing everything it has. The stars are out. All their candles are out. It's a really dark night. So remember when Lady Macbeth was calling upon nature to fill the night with the dunnest smoke of hell? Yeah, I guess that's happened.
A heavy summons lies like lead upon me, and yet I would not sleep. Merciful powers, restrain in me the cursed thoughts that nature gives way to in repose.
Okay. Heavy summons lies like lead upon me. That's an old cliche. It's lying like lead. It's heavy on me, and yet I would not sleep. Something is not letting me sleep. He means the thoughts, the witches, the predictions, the temptation. Merciful powers, restrain in me the cursed thoughts that nature gives way to in repose. So, in Shakespeare's time, the sin is not to be tempted, it's to give into temptation. So he's saying, I'm tempted, please restrain this. And that's the opposite of Macbeth, who's tempted, and he says, let me give into this. So, enter Macbeth.
Give me my sword. Who's there?
Yeah, Banquo exports his sword back, even though he's in a friendly place. This is still night in medieval times, you never know what's going to happen. So Macbeth enters, he says, a friend, and here we go.
What, sir? Not yet at rest. The king's abed. He hath been in unusual pleasure, and sent forth great largesse to your offices. This diamond he greets your wife withal, by the name of most kind hostess, and shut up in measureless content.
So yeah, the king is, you're not sleeping. The king's been happy. He gave a really big diamond, a really big jewel to your wife. And really, yeah, that's it.
Being unprepared, our will became the servant to defect, which else should free have wrought.
All's well. I dreamt last night of the three weird sisters. To you they have showed some truth.
To you they have showed some truth. That's a syntax. They have showed to you some truth. So yeah, I was dreaming of the weird sisters. I was thinking about them. They've been keeping me up. So they're talking about this in private now.
I think not of them. Yet when we can entreat an outer, sir, we would spend it in some words upon that business, if you would grant the time.
I think not of them. I don't think about them. He's lying, of course. But if we have an hour, some free time, I'd like to talk to you about this, if you would grant me time.
At your kind's leisure.
Yeah, at your own free time. So remember we talked about earlier, there's a lot of this political kind of language being used, where they're saying things out loud, that they have to be vague enough so that if they were heard by someone else, they wouldn't make sense. Macbeth is going to do this kind of now. He's testing the waters with Banquo. We'll see what happens.
If you shall cleave to my consent, when 'tis, it shall make honour for you.
If you shall cleave, split, to my consent. If you were to take my side, if there were a split, when it happens, I shall make honor for you. Hey, I'll be good for you if something happens if you take my side.
So I lose none in seeking to augment it, but still keep my bosom franchised and allegiance clear. I shall be counselled.
Good repose the while.
Thanks, sir. The like to you.
And then they leave. So Banquo's response, I've actually heard scholars describe it or explain it opposite ways. I don't lose any honor in seeking to augment it, so I will not lose any honor to gain honor, but I keep my bosom franchised and my allegiance clear. So my bosom is my chest. So I'll keep my allegiance clear. I shall be counseled. So either it's clear who I'm have alliance to, or my alliances are clear, meaning I'll be listened to. I'll listen to people talk. I've heard literally people with PhDs say the exact opposite thing for this little passage, and which means, depending on how Banquo responds, Macbeth, that's a mistake that he asked, or it's not a mistake. Okay, now we are with Banquo. Now we're with Macbeth. Banquo's just left.
Go bid thy mistress, when my drink is ready, she strike upon the bell. Get thee to bed.
My lord.
And now, one of the all-time great Shakespeare soliloquies. This is called is this a dagger speech from Macbeth. I'm just going to let this play out so you can be in the moment with it, and then when it's done, I'll go back to the beginning and start breaking it down. Here we go.
Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not, fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation proceeding from the heat oppressed brain? I see thee yet, in form as palpable as this which now I draw. Thou marshalst me the way that I was going, and such an instrument I was to use. Mine eyes are made the fools of the other senses, or else worth all the rest. I see thee still, and on thy blade and dudgeon gouts of blood, which was not so before. There's no such thing. It is the bloody business which informs thus to mine eyes. Now o'er the one-half world nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtained sleep. Witchcraft celebrates pale Hecate's offerings, and withered murder, alarmed by his sentinel, the wolf whose howls his watch, thus with his stealthy pace, with Tarquin's ravishing strides, towards his design moves like a ghost. Thou sure and firm-set earth, hear not my steps, which way they walk, for fear thy very stones prate of my whereabout, and take the present horror from the time which now suits with it. Whiles I threat, he lives. Words to the heat of deeds too cold breath gives. I go, and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning of that and work through it, because this is something important enough to work through. So, as he's on the top of his castle, he sees a dagger, like a knife, a war knife. Is this a dagger which I see before me, the handle towards my hand? So the handle's towards him, so it's like something he could grab. He tries, let me clutch thee, he tries to grab it. I have thee not, yet I see thee still. So the actors often portray like he grabs in the air, doesn't grab anything, but he still sees it. Art thou not, fatal vision, sensible, or feeling as to sight, sensible that can be sensed? Are you real? Do you exist? Or are you just something I can see? Or art thou, or are you, but a dagger of the mind, a false creation, proceeding from the heat oppressed brain? My brain is oppressed by heat. These thoughts. Are you a hallucination that my mind is making? So, is this something that's there, like the witches, or is this something that I'm making up? I see thee in a form as palpable, so as which I now draw. So as palpable as physical, like you look real. So he draws his own. Thou marshalest me the way I was going. You're leading me the way I was going. Which way was he going? The way of murder. And such an instrument I was to use. I was going to use this instrument, this weapon. My eyes are made the fool over the other senses. So I can't hear you, taste you, touch you, smell you, but I can see you. So maybe just my eyes are getting fooled. So as he's looking at this dagger, it transforms. I see thee still, I see you still, and on thy blade, on your blade, gudgeons, the hilt, gouts of blood. So I'm not just seeing a dagger. I'm seeing a dagger that's getting covered in blood. So what do you think he's probably thinking? If this is a hallucination, it's confirming what he thinks in his mind. If this is magic, it's telling him what he needs to do. But, as we're going to see, prophecies and that kind of stuff is very vague. Now over the one-half world, nature seems dead. Night is the one-half world, the other half of the world. Nature seems dead. Nature's dead. Because night is when all the weird stuff happens. Witchcraft celebrates Pale Hecate's offerings. Pale Hecate is a Roman goddess of witchcraft. You know, the witches' witchcraft. With Tarquin's ravishing strides towards his design, Tarquin was I think a Roman emperor who was he was a good emperor by day, but by night he was like a rapist. So let me be like him, that I will show everyone a good face, but in secret I'll do terrible things. Moves like a ghost. I want to move like a ghost. Thou sure firm set earth, hear not my steps. So he's talking to the ground. Hear not my steps. Like, don't echo. Don't make sounds when I walk. Whilst I threat, he lives. Right now, as long as I'm just threatening, he's living. And a bell rings. So the bell, that's Lady Macbeth giving everything is set up. I go and it is done. I go, it will be done. The bell invites me. The bell that she rings. Hear it not, Duncan, their syntax. Hey, Duncan, don't hear me coming, for it is a knell to summon thee to heaven or hell. So whatever I'm going to do, it's going to send you to heaven, or it's going to send you to hell. And that's all there is for scene 1.